you have to start with yourself. You have to be the change that you want to see in the world. If you don't practice spirituality in your life, you cannot preach or teach or tell other people to practice spirituality or social justice or anything else. So be a radiator of spirituality. You radiate when you are practicing and experiencing your spirituality and your holistic way of being and harmonious way of being. Then you also learn to communicate, how to speak to people with love.
Cet entretien a été tourné en anglais. Pour choisir entre la langue originale ou le français doublé, vous pouvez cliquer sur la petite roue en bas à droite de votre écran et choisir la piste audio qui vous convient le mieux. Vous pouvez également activer ou désactiver les sous-titres en anglais ou en français. Bon visionnage.
Souvent, les gens me disent que les grands sages appartiennent à un temps qui n'est plus le nôtre aujourd'hui. Eh bien, c'est faux. Dans cet épisode de dialogue, vous allez rencontrer Satish Kumar, qui est, je crois, l'un des sages les plus inspirants de notre temps. Un sage qui est vraiment à la hauteur des défis que nous avons tous à vivre et qui montre comment faire un lien entre faire la paix, la spiritualité, l'écologie, le soin de l'âme. Vous allez voir, c'est surprenant et passionnant.
Hello, Fabrice. Good to see you.
It's very moving because it's already 14 years. I met you for the first time and published your first book. It's a long journey. Maybe for all the people who don't know you, maybe you can tell a little bit your story because you have the most amazing stories trying to unify many different fields. Maybe we can start by where did you born and what was your first engagement?
Yes. I was born in Rajasthan, in India, in 1936. And when I was 4 years old, my father died. And so I saw father lying on the floor with a white cloth covered his body, and my mother crying, my sisters crying, all my relatives crying, and I didn't know what is going on. And so I said to my mother, "Why are you crying? Why father is not moving and talking?" And my mother said that your father is dead. I said, "What is dead?" He said, "Now he will never speak to you. He will never be with us. He's gone." That shocked me. I said, "Will everybody die? Will you die, mother?" She said, "Yes, I will die. You will be gone and I never see you again?" "Yes, I will be gone and you will never see me again." That shocked me. And so that stayed in my mind from age 4. And I always asking people, is there a way to stop death?
You remember when you
I
were 4 years old?
Yes. Is there a way to stop people dying? Because when you die, everybody's sad. Everybody's crying. And you never see them again. So when I was about 8 years old, my mother took me to see our Jain guru. And I saw him sitting by himself, alone, nobody there. So I went in the room. And I said, "Gurudev, I have a question." I was only 8 years old. "What is your question?" I said, "Is there a way to stop people dying?" And my guru said, he thought for a minute, and then he said, "Yes, there is. To stop this cycle of birth and death, you have to renounce the world and become a monk." I said, "Gurudev, I can do anything to stop people dying and myself dying." So that was a kind of beginning of my spiritual seeking and spiritual life and spiritual search. So I went to my mother after meeting the Guru and said, Mother, the Guru says that only way to stop death is to renounce the world. So I'm going to renounce the world and I become a monk. And my mother did not believe it. She said, oh, what nonsense you are talking about. Go and have lunch. I said, no, mother, I'm serious. Guru said to me that only way to stop death is to renounce the world. And I kept saying. It took 3-4 months before my mother said, all right, if you really want to become a monk, go. So my mother gave me permission. So at age 9, I became a Jain monk. Left home as a monk. I was walking bare feet with a begging bowl, traveling from village to village to village, and practicing non-violence, detachment, 9 years.
So maybe we can say Jain is not so known in the West. There is some similarity with Buddhism.
Yes.
Some difference, but it's one of the main religion of India.
Yeah.
So for 8 years you were a monk.
9 years.
9 years you were a monk.
There are 4 great religions in India: Hindu, Buddhist, Jain, and Sikh. These are the 4 native religions. Then from outside, we got Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. These great big religions. And so Jains and Buddhists were the 2 branches from Hinduism, reforming Hindu ways of being, particularly promoting non-violence and love and inclusivity. So I was a Jain monk. Jain is a bit more extreme. The Buddhism is a bit more middle path. And so austerity. So for 9 years, I lived a very austere life.
And after 9 years, you finally decide that something is not working.
Yes. After 9 years, Fabrice, I came across a book, the autobiography of Mahatma Gandhi. And when I read that book, in the book, Mahatma Gandhi says that how many people can become monks? Only few. Spirituality should be for everybody, not only for the monks who can leave world and practice spirituality. Spirituality should be for the farmers, for the businessmen, for the politicians, for the teachers, for the doctors, for the artists, for everybody. And therefore, rather than leaving the world, Gandhi said, I am trying to practice spirituality in the world and do everything what I am doing, politics or anything else, do it with spiritual values, do it with love, do it with a sense of service.
And that struck you?
That really impressed me. And I said, he's true, this is true, because how many people can become monks?
But did you were happy with your life as a monk?
I was quite happy as a monk, but I somehow, after 9 years of being monk, the idea of death was not so strong in my consciousness. And Gandhi's idea of practicing spirituality in the world seemed more inspiring. But not only I read the book, Fabrice, I had a dream. And in the dream, Mahatma Gandhi came to me. And he was standing on a sand dune, on a sort of a hill, with a big halo behind him. And he was saying the same thing to me, that you are kind of escaping from the world. Renouncing the world is escaping from the world. You have to transform the world, not escape from the world.
So it's very strong
Very strong.
criticize of your own past, because you did decide to become monk to renounce the world, and after 9 years, you thought that maybe you have to transform the world, not
Yes.
to renounce the world.
Not renounce the world, but transform the world.
And the relation with death, because
Yes.
you first came to find a way to escape death. Did you escape
And now
death?
I realized that death is not the end of life. Death is entering a new life. That was Gandhi's idea, that death is not the end of life. Death is you are entering into new life. And it is good that we die. Death is good, because without death, there's no recycling, there's no renewal. And in order to have a renewal of life, you need to be born and grow and seek and find truth, find spirituality, and then you die, and then you come back. So there's a renewal. It's a cyclical cycle of life, cycle of time, and like a renewal. If you just stay, and never die, there's no renewal. And so Gandhi's idea of death was very different. And that appealed to me. And I thought that I think I don't need to fear death.
How your family and your teacher felt when you decided to quit to become
They
a
were
monk?
very unhappy. My mother was very unhappy because she said that I told you not to become a monk, but once you become a monk and take a vow for your whole life, and then you break your vow, that's a great sin. Because you took the vow for whole life. And so she was very upset. She will not accept me at home. She will not even give me a glass of water. She said, no, go back to the monastery and become a monk again and ask the forgiveness of your teacher. I said, Mother, I'm not going back. And my teacher was also very upset because I was breaking the vow of
So
life.
you were all very stubborn.
I was very stubborn, yeah.
You were able to follow your own heart and not get trapped by the idea of other people.
That's right. I was determined. So then I found a Gandhian ashram, a community ashram. It's a very spiritual center started by Gandhi, where you can practice spiritual values, meditation, prayer, but also you practice some gardening and some spinning, and then you go in the service of the poor and the untouchables and the service of people and have a relationship. So spirituality and social and political and economic life are not separated in compartments, different compartments. They are all interrelated. And Gandhi's idea was to do everything you do it with love and a sense of service, not ego, not for ego, but from ego to eco, from self-centered idea to relationship idea. So the relational idea is the spirituality. That was Gandhi's teachings, and that inspired me. So I lived in the Gandhian ashram, and Mahatma Gandhi had passed. He had died, he was assassinated, but his follower was a man called Vinoba Bhave. And so I walked with him and I worked with him, and he became my new teacher. So I left one Jain teacher and adopted a new teacher who was more a worldly man, but also a very spiritual man in the world. And so I worked with Vinoba Bhave and lived in the Gandhian ashram and walked with Vinoba Bhave for nearly from age 18 to 26.
Yes, also 9 years again.
Yes, 9 years again.
And what did you learn there?
I learned that transformation of life and transformation of society, you have to start with yourself. Mahatma Gandhi's main idea was that you have to be the change that you want to see in the world. If you don't practice spirituality in your life, you cannot preach or teach or tell other people to practice spirituality or social justice or anything else. So be a radiator of spirituality. You radiate. Then, of course, Mahatma Gandhi was also a very good communicator. So he also said that when you are practicing and experiencing your spirituality and your holistic way of being and harmonious way of being, then you also learn to communicate. So I learned to communicate at the ashram. So how to speak to people with love, without criticizing, without condemning, without saying, you are wrong, I am right. That's not communication. Communication is a dialogue where you are both listening and speaking. And Mahatma Gandhi's idea was that you must listen twice because you have 2 years, deep listening, and speak once. So 2 part listening, 1 part speaking.
What is, in this regard, spirituality? Because the word have many, many meanings today.
Yeah.
What you will say now, after all this year, what is spirituality? What is the work of spirituality?
Spirituality is about relationship. Because the word spirit means breathing. Inspirare, you are inspired by breathing in. Expirare, to breathe out. Breathing in, breathing out. So the word spirit comes from breathing. And we all breathe the same air. You and I are related and connected through our breath. Whole world is breathing the same air. So through our breath, we are all connected. We are all related. So all the words of spirituality, like service, kindness, compassion, generosity, love, are all related to relationship. So if you want to be kind to somebody, you have to be kind to somebody. It's a relationship. You are compassionate to somebody. It's a relationship. You are loving, so loving somebody, loving nature, loving trees, loving people. So that's a relationship. So spirituality is respectful, reverential, and harmonious relationship with yourself and with other people and with nature and with all living beings and even with cosmos. So spirituality has a magnanimous mind, and you say, the cosmos is my country, planet is my home, nature is my nationality, and love is my religion. So seeking that magnanimity and inclusivity and generosity of heart and generosity of spirit, that is spirituality. Spirituality is not in the books. Spirituality is not in the Bhagavad Gita or the Quran or the Bible. Spirituality is not in the temple or the mosque or the church or a synagogue. Spirituality is in your heart and in your relationship with other people. And in spirituality, we are all divine beings. Every person, every human being is divine. That's a spirituality. Spirituality is to treat every person as a divine being. The moment you condemn somebody, you criticize somebody, say you are no good, that's moving away from spirituality. So that's a relationship is spirituality.
After these 9 years, you decide to do something different. Can you tell the new move that happens in your mind?
Yes. So after being in the Gandhian ashram and being a Gandhian activist, I was very interested in non-violence and peace, of course. But one day, with a friend, I went to have a coffee in a coffee house in the city of Bangalore in South India. And as I ordered the coffee and were waiting for the coffee, I picked up the newspaper. And I saw a picture of an old man from England called Bertrand Russell. And I read in the paper that a 90-year-old Nobel Prize winning philosopher, Bertrand Russell, has been imprisoned because he was protesting against nuclear bomb. And I read this, and suddenly my body and my heart and my mind, they all moved. And I said, here is a man of 90. I said to my friend, here is a man of 90 going to jail for peace in the world. What are we doing, young men, sitting here drinking coffee? That was a moment of great kind of all turmoil, kind of turmoil. And so we forgot everything else and we started to talk that what can we do as young men for peace and for spirituality. Because peace is not just the absence of war. Peace is not just absence of nuclear bombs. Peace is not just absence of weapons. Peace is a way of living harmoniously, spiritually. And so how can we promote peace in the world? That was our challenge after being inspired by this old 90-year-old Bertrand Russell, philosopher. And so that morning, my friend and I decided that let's walk to Moscow, Paris, London, and Washington, 4 nuclear capitals of the world. And along the way, we talk about peace in our heart, peace with all people, peace with nature, peace with humanity, peace with the cosmos, peace at every level. And we walk without any money.
Because so when did you leave? How many days after you make the decision did you left?
Actually, the decision was made on the same day.
You left the same day?
Not left the same day. Decision that we will walk made the same day. But we actually left almost a year later.
And your teacher asked you, yes, you can do it, but without any money.
That's right. That's right.
And maybe you can explain why did he give you this advice?
He said that wars begin in fear. You're afraid of somebody. You're afraid of Russians. You're afraid of Chinese. You're afraid of Muslims. You're afraid of somebody. Fear is the cause of war. And what is the antidote of fear? Trust. So you have to, if you are really promoting peace, peace begins in trust. And so you have to show that you trust the world and you trust yourself. And when you trust yourself, you can trust the world. And so if you go without any money, that means you trust yourself. You trust your own confidence and yourself, and you trust the world. And see what happens. And so that was a great advice. And so we decided to walk from India to Moscow, Paris, London, Washington without any money in order to demonstrate that we trust.
So how long time did it take you to go to Moscow?
To go to Moscow, from New Delhi to Moscow, 10 months. So we walked from New Delhi, from the grave of Mahatma Gandhi, through India, and we came to Pakistan, Afghanistan. We climbed 12,000 feet high Hindu Kush mountains, and they came to Iran. And we walked through the deserts of Iran, and then 100 days in Iran. And then we came to Azerbaijan, and then Armenia, Georgia, Russia, Moscow, 10 months. And then from Moscow, we walked to Belarusia, Poland, Germany, Belgium, France. And then from Calais, we took a boat to Dover. And then from Dover to London, London to Southampton. And then we took a boat. We met Bertrand Russell. And Bertrand Russell helped us to get 2 tickets in a boat, Queen Mary. And so we sailed across the Atlantic in a boat, and we arrived in New York, and we walked to Washington, D.C., and we ended our walk at the grave of John F. Kennedy. So we started from the grave of Mahatma Gandhi and ended at the grave of John F. Kennedy to show that your gun does not kill only a bad person. A gun can also kill a Gandhi. A gun can also kill a Kennedy. So trust in peace and not in the gun.
And you try, during all this amazing journey, to meet the president of every country, to talk to them?
Yes, yes. So we were received in the Kremlin. And Fabrice, what happened? When we were walking through Georgia by the Black Sea, 2 women invited us for tea, and in a tea factory. And when we went in, we started to have a cup of tea, and the one woman had a brainwave. she went out of the room and came back with 4 packets of tea. And she said that these packets of tea are not for you. I was amazed. For whom are they then? She said, I want you to be my messenger. And please deliver 1 packet of peace tea to our premier in the Kremlin. And the 2nd packet of peace tea to the president of France in Palais Élysée. The 3rd packet of peace tea to the Prime Minister of England in 10 Downing Street. And the 4th packet of peace tea to the President of the United States of America in the White House. And please give them a message from me. And I said, what is your message? She said, my message to them is that if you ever get a mad thought of pressing the nuclear button, please stop for a moment and have a fresh cup of tea. And invite your opponent to have a tea with you. And having a cup of tea is more powerful than your tanks and your weapons and your nuclear bomb. This is my message. I was so touched, Fabrice, I cannot tell you. It was a kind of, I said, now I have a mission. And my mission is to deliver the packets of peace tea to the 4 capitals of the world. And so I was received in the Kremlin.
By who?
By the representative of Nikita Khrushchev. And I was received in the White House by the representative of the President Johnson. And we delivered the packets of peace tea.
In Paris, it didn't work so well. You had to go, you've been to jail.
That's right, that's right. We went to Palais Élysée to deliver the packet of peace tea, but they will not accept us. They don't receive us. And they say, you go away. I said, no, we are not going away. We want to stay here until we can deliver the packet of peace tea to President or his representative. And so they said, no, we will not do it. We don't want anything. So we were arrested and we were put in jail. So I spent 3 days in jail in Paris. But then the head of the police of Paris came to prison and said, if you don't go away, we send you back to India, deport you, or you have to continue. So I said, but what do we do with packet of peace tea which you have to deliver? He said, you give it to me and I will give it to Palais Élysée. So the head of Paris police received the packet of peace tea for the Palais Élysée. So we said, all right, we'll compromise. We don't want to go back to India because we want to go to London and to Washington.
And in London, did you have more chance?
Yes. We were received in the 10 Downing Street and we were given, we delivered packet of peace tea and we had a good success in the White House and we were delivered packet of peace tea to the representatives of the government.
Altogether, how long did it took you to go?
From India?
From India to America?
2.5 years.
Wow.
It was 13,000 kilometers.
What did you learn in these 2.5 years?
I learned that humanity is one. Unity of humanity. If I went as an Indian, I meet a Pakistani. If I went as a Hindu, I meet a Muslim. But if I go as a human being, I meet human beings everywhere. So I went through Muslim countries, Christian countries, communist countries, capitalist countries, rich countries, poor countries, but I did not see all these distinctions and divisions. I only saw humanity. Because when you are looking at other people with a label, you are a communist, you are a capitalist, you are a Muslim, you are a Hindu, you are a Christian, you are a Buddhist, you are a black, you are white, you are Jew, whatever. These are labels. So I did not see people behind labels. I saw people as humanity. And so that was I learned. I learned that we are one humanity and we can celebrate the diversity of religions. It's wonderful to have many religions, wonderful to have many political systems, wonderful to have many languages, wonderful to have many philosophies and many things. Diversity of life is good. Why do we want everybody to be the same? So I said to myself that if you're communist, I love you. If you're capitalist, I love you. If you are Russian, I love you. If you are Muslim, I love you. You are Christian, I love you. You are American, I love you. I love without any discrimination or any judgment or any kind of distinction. Every human being is sacred. Because that's what I learned as a Jain monk, and that's what I learned as a Gandhian. So I say love is first. Love first, then truth. That's the kind of idea.
What did you do during this 2 years and a half? Did you meet people? Did you talk to people? Did you explain your vision?
Yes, absolutely. We were distributing leaflets and we were giving talks. And so we gave talks in schools, in universities, in churches, in public squares, in the village squares. We will just go and speak and people will gather. And then we'll say we are earth pilgrims. And we are walking without any money. If anybody would like to give us bed for the night or food for the evening, for one night, one evening, we will receive it. And many people will offer. There will be quite a discussion. I want you to come, I want you to come, I want you to come. So there's a lot of hospitality. So we will talk to people, and then we will talk to newspapers. So when we went to Tehran or Moscow or big cities, Tbilisi, Yerevan, all the big cities, we'll speak to newspapers, radio, television, in Moscow, in London, in Washington, in New York, everywhere. So we were communicating with people and also meeting the leaders, like we met Bertrand Russell, and we had a great pleasure and an honor of meeting Martin Luther King. And that was a great occasion, an opportunity, because he was an embodiment of peace, an embodiment of love.
How did you meet him? How did the relation was made?
A relation was made because he gave a very great speech, I Have a Dream. And that speech was so inspiring that I wrote a letter, care of some organization which he belonged to, Southern Christian Movement, something like that. I found out, and then I wrote a letter to Martin Luther King and say, we have walked from India for peace, and you are the great peace leader and the embodiment of peace and love, and therefore we would like to meet you. That would be our great honor. And he immediately wrote back. And within 3 or 4 days, we received his answer, care of our Indian embassy. We gave the address of care of Indian embassy in Washington, and we received the letter back. And so we went to see him, and we had 1 hour with Martin Luther King.
What did you talk about with him? Do you remember?
I mean, he wanted to know a little bit of our story, how we walked from India to America, and then we also talked about how you can even love those who are your opponents, your adversaries. So he said, I love white people. I'm not against white people. They are my brothers and sisters. I am against racism. And even if black people were practicing racism, I will be against that. So my fight is not against white people. My fight is against racism. And that was very inspiring. And he said, I want justice today. Justice delayed is justice denied. But also, when you have urgency, you also have a patience. And so I'll wait. I'll not use violence. I will not use anger. I'll act out of love. That was his message. I will act not out of anger, not out of fear, not out of anxiety, not out of any negative feeling, but I will act out of love, even though matters are urgent, but I want to act with patience.
What did you do? What did you do after Washington?
After Washington, we were invited to go to Japan. People wrote to us and said, we heard about you and we heard about your walk and you're walking for peace. And Hiroshima was the first and the only, and the Nagasaki, only 2 cities which were destroyed by nuclear bomb. So we would like you to come to Japan and walk from Tokyo to Hiroshima. And so we said, all right. So they helped us to go to Japan. And then we walked from Tokyo to Hiroshima, another 45 days of walking. And that was wonderful, because Japan is a beautiful country with tremendous Zen culture and a kind of And particularly, the Zen master said that you carried the packets of peace tea. We want you to come and have a tea ceremony in a Zen temple in Kyoto. And so we were invited to a very beautiful, big Zen temple, and then we were given a tea ceremony and say, every cup of tea is a cup of peace. Every cup of tea is a cup of love. We make tea not to just drink tea, but make tea and we drink tea together to make friendship and to relationship and a respect for each other and for humanity and for spirituality. That was a wonderful experience to walk for 45 days in the beautiful country of Japan.
And after Japan?
After Japan, we went by boat to India. So 2.5 years around the world.
And you've been to India. What did you do in India at this time?
So then we went back to India. So first thing, Martin Luther King gave me a copy of his book, signed by him, called Stride Toward Freedom. And many people in India didn't know the ideas and the philosophy of Martin Luther King. So I said my first job is to translate the book by Martin Luther King in Hindi. So I did that. And then many people said, we want you to write the story of your walk and we want a book from you. And so I wrote a book called Walking Around the World Without a Penny. And that was a book published so I wrote that book. And then many people in India wanted me to go and speak about my walk and speak about peace and speak about humanity and oneness. So I did a lecture tour. So that was my work, writing two books, one translation, one new book, and also giving lectures.
And after a while, you start to get very involved with economic, try to understand more economic.
I said that economy and ecology must go together. Economy means, this is a Greek word, eco means oikos, home, in Greek language. Oikos means home, and nomi is nomos, means management. So management of the planet home is economy. And ecology means knowledge of home. Logos means knowledge. So knowledge of home and the management of home go together. So my work was to bring a balance between economy and ecology together. Because at the moment, our world view is dominated by economy. Actually, Fabrice, what we say economy is not really economy. I was invited to speak at the London School of Economics. And I said to them, please tell me, what do you mean by economy? They say, economy means business plan, balance sheet, bottom line, profitability, income, expenditure, budget. I said, no, that is not economy. That is a money-nomy. Not economy. Economy means how ecosystem, how our ecological world sustained together and how harmoniously it can be managed. That's economy. And in order to manage the planet Earth and the Earth home, we have to know. Because if you don't know your home, how are you going to manage? If you want to manage something, you have to know it. And therefore, ecology and economy go together. That was my work.
So that is a new phase, after the phase where you become a monk, when you become involved with Gandhi, when all this work with peace, you try to make together spirituality, love, peace, and economy and ecology, and you were very moved and you study Schumpeter.
Yes, yes.
Maybe you can describe who was Schumpeter and how he helped you to understand more deeply what you were trying to make.
Schumacher was author of Small is Beautiful. And he wrote an essay called The Buddhist Economics. And that was very inspiring. It was very similar to in a kind of Buddhist and Gandhian and Jain, all these ideas coming together. And so he actually invited me, because we became good friends, and he invited me to become the editor of Resurgence magazine in England. Originally, I said to him that thank you for your invitation, but I don't want to take up this job, because I want to go back to India. And he said, why do you want to go back to India? I said, I want to work with the Gandhian movement. He said, but Satish, there are many Gandhians in India. We need one in England. So please stay and make Resurgence a Gandhian magazine. And bring your Gandhian values and Gandhian spirituality and Buddhist economics, as I'm writing about, in the magazine.
So you decide to move and to stay in
So I
England.
decided to move to England and settle down in England and become the editor of Resurgence magazine. And I edited Resurgence magazine for 43 years.
Which year did you move to England?
I moved to England and became editor in 1973.
So at this time, in this magazine, you start to meet all people who were involved
Yes.
in this changing
Yes.
our view of
Yes.
destroying
Yes.
Earth.
Yes.
And
Yes. So I met many people, invited them to write for Resurgence. So people like James Lovelock, about Gaia, like Fritz of Capra, about Tao of physics, and also I met people like Thich Nhat Hanh and Chogyam Trungpa and many other teachers I met, because as an editor I wanted to learn more and say how we can bring spirituality, ecology, economy, they're all interrelated. In our modern world, we put things in compartment and department. Religion here, spirituality there, economy there, ecology there, science there, separate, separate, separate. And my work was to see the interconnection, because science without spirituality is dangerous. Spirituality without science can be dogmatic. Economics without ecology can be dangerous. This is what is happening in the world today. We are doing economic growth, economic growth, economic growth, and no ecology. And this is why we are creating global warming, climate change, biodiversity diminishing, our oceans are polluted, our rivers are polluted. So I said that we need to see the connections between ecology and economy. We need to see connection between science and spirituality. We need to see connection between matter and spirit. Because without matter, spirit cannot manifest. And without spirit, matter is dead. So this Cartesian dualism, where things are separate and divided, it's a dualistic worldview, is not helping us. And therefore, my work as an editor of Resurgence, and then I founded Schumacher College, was to see the connections between all the disciplines and work together so that we can celebrate matter with spirituality, and we can bring spirituality in the matter. So this is why you can say that I wrote my book, You Are, Therefore I Am, in response to Descartes' thinking of I think, therefore I am. So it's a kind of bringing a kind of marriage of science and spirituality, marriage of matter and spirit, and going beyond this dualistic worldview.
In this first book that we publish of you, you explain that we are linked.
Yeah.
The subtitle in French is Une déclaration de dépendance.
Yes.
Which is quite strange because everybody wants to be independent.
Yes.
And you see that is a problem.
Yes.
We are dependent to each other.
Yes,
and we have
yes.
to celebrate that.
Yes, yes.
And
So dependence, is a kind of relationship. But I depend on food. I depend on my mother. I depend on my father to give me birth. If my father and mother were not there, I cannot be born. I depend on my friends. I depend on farmers who produce food. I depend on the people who build the house, to live in the house. So we are related, connected, dependent on each other. So that humility is necessary in my worldview. And humility is humanity without humility is not sufficient. Humanity and humility go together. At the moment, we are very egotistical. I want to move from this ego to eco, which is I to us, and me to we. We are all related. So that's for me, in the beginning I said, what is spirituality? Spirituality is connectedness, relatedness, and interbeing.
At the same time, one thing you always insist is we need to love ourselves.
To?
Love ourselves.
Yes, yes.
And people normally tend to think if we let go of ego, we have to sacrifice ourselves, we have to go beyond ourselves. And you always say, no, no, no. First, we have to love ourselves. And it's not selfish to love ourselves.
No, it's not selfish to love ourselves, because loving ourselves means accepting ourselves who we are. Every one of us is special. There are 8 billion people on this planet Earth, but no one person is same to somebody else. Every person is a unique gift of the universe to the universe. So accepting ourselves who we are, and we are divine beings. We have a very special gift to bring to the world. So we need self-knowledge, and through self-knowledge we have a self-love, and through self-love we have self-realization. You cannot realize who you are unless you accept yourself who you are and know who you are. So self-knowledge, self-love and self-realization are all connected.
But it's difficult to love ourselves because we see so much our limitation, how sometimes we do things we will not like to do. We harm others. How can we love ourselves?
We can love ourselves by transcending from our limitations. And this is why I say, when you broaden your consciousness and you become inclusive, the whole cosmos is our country, whole planet is our home, nature is our nationality, love is our religion, and I'm a divine being, and I have a potential to be myself and be divine being. So that kind of spirituality, that kind of transcendental reality is possible only by accepting yourself and knowing yourself and loving yourself. You can love others and accept others, because we are always criticizing others. You are right or you are wrong, or you are good or you are bad. We are judging others and we are judging ourselves. So going beyond judgment, beyond discrimination, beyond conditions, say world is as it is, and I transform the world through love, and I transform the world through relationship, and I transform the world through dialogue. Alchemy of love is capable of transformation. The alchemist transformed base metal into precious metal. So through love, the alchemy of love, we can transform ourselves from ordinary to extraordinary. So how do you make yourself extraordinary? By loving yourself. If you deny yourself, you deny your potential, and you condemn yourself, say, I'm no good, I'm a sinner, I'm guilty, you don't change, you don't transform. So alchemy of love is the way to self-realize.
The second book we publish of you is pour une écologie spirituelle, with a foreword of Marion Cotillard, who was very involved in and moved by your work.
Yeah.
And for you, ecology must be bring with spirituality.
Yes, yes.
Otherwise, it doesn't work.
No, that's right. Because there are two kinds of ecology: scientific ecology and spiritual ecology. Scientific ecology looks at nature as an object to be exploited. So if a scientific ecology, you study ecology as an object, so how can I use nature for my benefit? So nature becomes only a means to an end, a resource for the economy. Spiritual ecology says nature is not an object. Nature is subject. And the universe is not a collection of objects, but the universe is a communion of subjects. And therefore nature is sacred, a river is holy, a mountain is holy. So you go to Mount Kailash for your pilgrimage, you go to river Ganges for your pilgrimage, trees are sacred and you worship the trees and you worship humans. So the kind of spirituality, ecology, or spiritual ecology is to see nature not as an object to be exploited for human economy and human development and human progress or human comfort, but a relationship between nature and humans, because humans are also nature.
In this way, you're talking about the link between ecology and spirituality. You said we need to find a new new devise, la terre, l'âme, la société.
Yes, yeah. So in order to bring spiritual ecology, you need to work at least at 3 levels. First level is our unity with natural world. So soil, we are soil. The word human comes from humus, and in Latin, humus means soil. So human beings are literally soil beings. So we are made of soil. We are made of earth, air, fire, water, and consciousness. And soil and nature, mountains, forests, animals, rivers, they are also made of earth, air, fire, water, and consciousness. Nature is conscious. Nature is not a machine. Nature is not a commodity. Nature is a living organism. So that's the first part of the Trinity, soil. Then soul. We also need to have inner transformation. Outer transformation, economy, ecology is a kind of outer dimension, an outer transformation. You cannot have outer transformation without inner transformation. So we need to understand the inner world and inner reality, and that's a soul qualities. So heart, soul, spirit, consciousness, and that's where you develop the soul qualities of compassion, kindness, generosity, love, appreciation, celebration. All those qualities are soul qualities. But in our modern world, we don't recognize soul. We think there is no soul, only body, only materialism, only matter exists. Nothing exists unless it can be measured. And that's a materialism. Only matter exists, because matter can be measured. Matter, meter, measure. They come from the same root. And so we are materialists. We don't recognize the presence of the soul, of the spirit, of consciousness. And this is why I bring the Trinity. Second part of Trinity is soil and a soul. And the third part of Trinity is society. Because we, as I said, that we have forgotten that we are one humanity, and we discriminate and we judge and we distinguish between one human to another human. And so you are Muslim, you are Christian, you are a communist, you are capitalist, etc. So I want us to see whole of humanity as one and celebrate the diversity, celebrate the distinction. So it's good to have many religions, many ideas, many philosophies, many ways of interpreting, many ways of poetry, many ways of music, many languages, so many truth diversity as well. And so that kind of unity of humanity and celebration of diversity, that's a society. So I have created this new Trinity for our time. Soil, our relation with nature; soul, our relation with the inner world; and society, our relation with the human community. If we can have this holistic and a more overarching worldview, then all our problems of conflict and wars, and war in Ukraine, war in Gaza and Palestine, and war in many other countries, Kashmir, or conflict with Taiwan, or many other wars will diminish, because we will know that we have to respect soil, and we have to respect soul, and we have to respect humanity, and we can all live together as one humanity. So we need a new Trinity for our time, and I have offered this new Trinity: soil, soul, and society.
How do you do to not be discouraged when you see the situation of the world?
Yeah.
All this war, all
Yeah.
the destruction of Earth.
Yeah.
In one sense, things get worse that when you start to help the world, how do you do to not be discouraged?
Yes, how not to be discouraged. I see the conflicts, difficulties, wars, climate problems as an opportunity to offer my service, to bring back peace, harmony, ecology, sustainability, regenerative economy, all those things. If everything was perfect, then we don't need to do anything. So if there was no imperialism and colonialism, there will be no need for Mahatma Gandhi. If there was no racism, there will be no need for Martin Luther King. So for Martin Luther King, it was there. The racism was there, and he was inspired to act and diminish racism.
So what you're saying is we have the choice. Every time we see something sad or
bad, yeah.
we can complain, or we can help our service to help the world.
Exactly, yeah. Complaining is not going to help. So you do some positive, constructive action and use that as an opportunity to serve the humanity, bring peace, bring harmony. And that is the whole, our ancient tradition, from Jesus Christ to Buddha to Mother Teresa to Mahatma Gandhi to Martin Luther King. All our great teachers throughout the history has used that opportunity to bring harmony back. Even Simone de Beauvoir, I read her book, The Second Sex, when in the 60s, and even she said that we need to bring the equality and the rights of women and how we treat women, and we should treat women for. So she used that opportunity to bring the women's rights. So all our great writers, great thinkers, great spiritual leaders, great religious leaders have used this opportunity to serve humanity.
Your third book was How Did You Learn Simplicity?
Simplicity.
Yes.
I've written a book called Elegant Simplicity. And I learned from Einstein, who said that any fool can make things complicated. It requires a genius to make things simple. In our modern world, we are very eager and very clever to make things complicated. And everything is making too complicated. Everything is being too difficult. I want things to be simple. And so elegant simplicity is a kind of way forward, I believe.
And it's for you also a vision for the world. It's not that we need to live with simplicity because we are guilty, because there is not enough, but we need to learn to live with simplicity, but with elegance.
Yeah, absolutely, with elegance.
Dignity, with beauty.
Yeah, yeah. So whatever we have, whatever we make, it should be simple, elegant, and beautiful. Our crisis, Fabrice, is crisis of aesthetics. We have lost this sense of beauty, we have lost sense of elegance, and we have lost sense of simplicity. So what I'm saying, that we need to bring back that sense of beauty. Nothing we should make, house, clothes, shoes, furniture, food, everything we must make beautiful. Beauty is food for the soul. And so, but beauty is not enough. Beauty should also be useful. So clothes are useful, shoes are useful, furniture is useful, house is useful. So make them beautiful and useful. And then also they should be durable. We should not have just use once and throw it away. And we create a waste and a throwaway society. And our landfills are full of rubbish, and our rivers are full of rubbish, and our oceans are full of plastic. So throwaway society is not elegant and not simple. So in order to have elegant simplicity, you need to have durability, sustainability. So make things beautiful, useful, durable. I call it the BUD principle. Beautiful, useful, durable. B-U-D. The BUD principle of elegant simplicity.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much. It's always so great joy to spend time with you.
Thank you Fabrice.
Si vous avez suivi cet épisode jusque maintenant, ça a dû vous faire beaucoup de bien. N'hésitez pas à le partager, car il y a plein de gens qui sont vite découragés devant tout ce qui se passe dans le monde. Et j'ai voulu faire ce dialogue pour nous donner du cœur à l'ouvrage, nous donner du courage. Alors n'hésitez pas à le partager autour de vous. Je vous embrasse.